must have noticed the fast-paced growth in smartphones in recent years. Apart from the innovation in the product, it also becomes important to launch your product as quickly as possible. To talk about the topic in detail, we have with us Mr. Vikas Agarwal, General Manager, India OnePlus. Mr. Amit Boni, India Head, Motorola. Mr. Anil Sama, COO, Intel Mobile Communication India. And moderating session, Mr. Har Simran Julka, reporter, ET.
Yeah, now with Tech in Asia.
Thanks to you.
Okay. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Yeah, great afternoon that we are having, and great panel that we have here. Who has a OnePlus phone with them here in the audience? A Xiaomi? Wow, okay. And a Motorola? Yeah, should be happy. Yeah. So I'll let you guys introduce a little bit about you and how your company started up and how is it taking the India market, and then we'll open it up to further questions. Yeah. All right. You can talk about the OnePlus story, how it started as a.
Sure. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with OnePlus origins. It was started in December 2013. That's just 2 years back, right? And we have really achieved a lot in this small time frame. And considering that we started in the hardware segment, which is probably one of the most toughest industry, and if you put it into perspective, that's a smartphone industry, and we have seen how big brands like Nokia, BlackBerry have failed to really compete in this segment, and we operate in the topmost premium segment, wherein most other brands are actually competing in the affordable segment, right? So that gives us some perspective of what we have really achieved today. I saw some of the people who are using OnePlus and really thankful to you. I'm sure there must be OnePlus fan. I hope many of you are actually planning to buy OnePlus in the future. When we started OnePlus, it was the team who used to work at Oppo. They were a product manager there, and one fine evening in a cafe, they realized that all of them were using an iPhone. And they were surprised by they all are working in an Android company and are using an iPhone. And on a deep soul search, they realized that there is no good enough phone in Android ecosystem that they can probably use. And that was the genesis of how OnePlus came into to the picture.
Pete Lau, right?
Pete
yeah.
and Carl,
Yeah.
and there were two other team members.
How old are they?
Today they are some 27. So at that time they were under 25. Pete is 38. But it's really a young team. When we started, the idea was to create a phone that we can use for ourselves, right? We wanted to reach out to the audience who is really looking for a better technology in the Android ecosystem, because a lot of people want to really have an Android phone than an iPhone. And from the very beginning, we were clear that we are not going to create this company only for China. Our vision was very grand from the very beginning, and that's how we chose the name OnePlus. And if you compare it with most other Chinese companies that have now entered India also, you can see the noticeable difference in names, in the way they conduct the business, the way they have grown the business. They have primarily focused on China earlier, and now they're coming to India because the market is getting more competitive and saturated. At OnePlus, we knew that we have to become a global company. Mobile is something that you don't want to compromise on. This is probably the only single accessory or a device that you're going to probably carry ahead of any other device. This is a must-have device, and you have to have a really good quality device. This is something you can't really compromise. It's like a reflection of a personality over time. And our understanding is that people will eventually upgrade to a more premium device. And that is what's really happening in China. Apple started very late in China, but today they're really dominating the Chinese market because people over time have upgraded to a better quality device. Quality is really a defining term for smartphone industry. If you cannot have a quality products, you cannot really sustain over long term. And that is where the most entry-level brands in India and in China are struggling, right? So one way to really judge your quality is if you can really succeed in Europe and US market, you are likely to be a better brand. And that is what we set our challenges. We started with 17 countries from the very beginning, from day one. And today, our business in each of these three key markets, India, US, and Europe, is bigger than our business in China. So that has been our big achievement, that in a 2-year span of time, we have created a business in 3 different geographies, Asia, US, and Europe, wherein most other Chinese brands are still primarily relying on the China business. and finding it difficult to really cross over to different markets. And they're still competing on product wherein we are competing on the quality, we are competing on the service now. And that shows the possibilities that we have, because the brand is now very strongly associated with the quality, with the aspirations. People aspire to have OnePlus. And why we have managed to do this, I think that's a very smart strategy that we have followed from the very beginning. Most other brands have the challenges with their legacy business models. They had huge overheads which they couldn't really overcome. We started afresh and we followed an e-commerce business model. In India, we have seen what e-commerce has allowed us to do, and we did that at a global scale. Till last year, we had just one office in China, and that was a really lean team. We were having a team of less than 100 people that was catering to the entire globe.
100 people in 17 countries, right?
17 countries.
Right.
Today, we are in 35 countries, and today we have just 2 offices, in India and in China.
And how many people?
I think it's around 500 now. So this lean model, this focus on quality and global market has allowed us to keep costs low. In India, we are still selling on online only. So the core focus has always been on the customer value proposition, focus on the high level, high-end specifications at an affordable price, focus on the design because customers are really particular about how the device is going to feel in their hands. They do not want just any device, they want to be proud of the device that they're going to use. And that is what is making OnePlus special.
Sure, thanks. Amit, you want to tell the Motorola story and how it's been successful? And a lot of people bought your phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, telling the Motorola story is a difficult one. Motorola invented the phone and long time back ago, so it's going to be going back 30, 35 years. I don't think we have time for that much. What I can tell you is the story that in the last 2-3 years, what we have done. We were very, very clear that there needs to be some kind of a disaggregation of the value chain because a $100 phone out of a factory in India in traditional retail becomes about a $155, $160 phone. And all of these are overheads that consumers don't need. So about 2 years, almost 2 years, actually on the 5th of this, I was telling Har Simran, it will be exactly 2 years, when there was the first time there was a brand that went and said, I'm going to sell only online. And I remember when we were launching our first Moto G, there was a very august audience of journalists out there, and we were very excited about launching Moto G. It was a great device. And all that the journalists were asking me is, are you stupid? Why are you even trying to do something only e-commerce? You're not going to sell stuff. E-commerce is 2% of the overall market. You are letting go of the 98% of the market. So, and that is truly what story of Motorola is as well. It's of continuous innovations, it's of breaking paths, it's of making sure that we do things that matter to the end consumer.
You launched on Flipkart, right? You launched on Flipkart.
We launched on Flipkart, yes.
And
so one of the things
it was sold out. You crashed the site also, right? Or something like that.
Well, yeah. That wasn't the intent.
Okay.
I still remember, we had Sachin and Bini, the Flipkart co-founders, join us at the launch. And we were supposed to go live at about midnight. At about probably an hour before that, I went off to sleep thinking that we're going to get up tomorrow morning and we're all going to be fine. I get a call at about 12:15 from one of the co-founders saying the damn website crashed. And I was like, why? He said, because the Moto G is out of stock. I was like, but we gave you enough. They're like, that's what it is.
How much did he give?
We actually gave them about, I can disclose today, we gave them about 50,000 units to begin with, right? And our intent was that it will last us about, let's say, a couple of weeks. And that was being nice because we were re-entering the market about a hiatus of about a couple of years' time. So I was like, yeah, if we do manage to do that within a couple of weeks' time, we're gonna be okay. And here we were, 15 minutes later, saying that there is no inventory. So and that's where we stand, right? And we have been lucky enough to crash Flipkart multiple times ever since. I'm not sure they like us for that. But, there are 2 or 3 things that I think Motorola has been able to do. And that's the story of we are a product company, right? But I think more importantly, we are a very customer company. Whether it was inventing the mobile device or whether it was looking at generating an altogether new business model that nobody had even touched or even was thinking about. And that is the sense of entrepreneurship that exists within Motorola. I still remember when we faced a lot of, resistance internally and externally when we proposed this model saying we're going to do only an e-commerce model. It wasn't only the journalists who were thinking that we were stupid. There was a lot of people internally who were thinking we were stupid. But overall, in the collective wisdom of the company, it was something that was valuable, that could make, make a difference. And I mean, sitting here between you today, I can tell you we're extremely proud. We're hitting second anniversary of this model. I think we've not only changed how Indian consumers buy phones, we made those some really good phones, a lot more affordable, but we've also changed how e-commerce would have been in India. If you consider that about probably 60% of the GMVs that e-commerce companies have come from mobile devices. And there was a time, I can't tell you how much are we today, but there was a time when about 80% of the mobile devices value on Flipkart was just Motorola. So imagine the kind of GMVs that we were hitting for Flipkart. And Flipkart was a poster boy that helped others to kind of catch up and so on and so forth.
Now
So,
Xiaomi as well, right? Yeah.
well, yeah,
On
I mean,
Flipkart.
there have been a lot of fast follower strategies to what we did, and I think there is no better ode and validation to what we did. That there were a lot of other people who came and said, yeah, this looks like it's a great strategy. We should do this.
So there's a learning. People who want to sell products, and obviously they don't have the wherewithal to create a whole retail chain in the country, but they have a great brand to sell or to make. So e-commerce route that's what your learning has been. I mean, both of you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a low entry barrier. I mean, first thing first. I mean, retail would have taken anyone millions of dollars to set up. I mean, it is definitely a low entry barrier. But you can enter. It's a low entry barrier. It's not a low sustenance barrier. Be clear about that. You can enter. You can, of course. I mean, I may decide to kind of make a chappal outside today and sell it on Flipkart. But the chappal needs to be good, right? That's how it works. Yes, it's a low barrier entry model, but that's about it.
I'll add to it that without an e-commerce, we probably wouldn't be here where we are. E-commerce allowed us to really sell in global markets without having a physical presence. We wouldn't be able to start in India within 2 months from that point we decide that we have to launch in India. Without an e-commerce, we wouldn't be able to reach out to those many customers. Traditionally, most brands have inherent advantage in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of the network, in terms of the distribution capabilities that they have built, which has kind of acted as an entry barrier. It's not a coincidence that suddenly so many brands are entering in India or in other countries. It's largely because of the e-commerce is giving a cost-effective channel, which people are also liking, right? And like he said, it's not a sustenance. It works both ways. Today, the entire economies are going digital. Word of mouth is becoming more and more popular, and that increases the brand's accountability towards their customer. They benefit if customers like the service, and that helps in fueling the demand. That's what we feel has happened in our case. But if you don't do well, if you don't deliver on the promises, if customers feel cheated, it's going to backfire, and your brand will be out of the people's mind in no time. And so you have to be really careful. E-commerce is not an easy business. Easy to start, but you have to be really customer focused to sustain.
And you have to take care of logistics, right?
Logistic is something that e-commerce companies have really invested in, and that is what they bring to the table. We bring a good quality product and a long-term vision in terms of the product supply chain, but operationally e-commerce companies really help in distributing that across the country. We are right now just touching barely at the tip of the iceberg, right? We are barely in metro cities. Imagine once that e-commerce really penetrates the entire India into rural cities, then you can see the power that it can unleash. Today, there's still a lot of brands who are surviving just because they have that distribution muscle. But once that level, it becomes a level playing field, I think it's very difficult for them to really continue to charge a premium. You see a lot of brands spending so much money on all kind of marketing efforts. Ultimately, that cost is passed on to the customers, and those customers do not really realize that there is a way to buy a same product or a better quality product at a lesser price. Right? So this cost of inefficiency has to go out of the system, and that's what e-commerce is allowing us to do.
So, Anil, Mintel has been at the forefront of developing microprocessors, and obviously the computing revolution in the world has been, pioneered by your company. So, how about the mobile revolution? Qualcomm is taking over, and also about if people want to develop something out of India, should it be design-led? Should it be manufacturing-led? And can we have hardware startups out of India?
Yeah, sure. So, can you hear me? Yeah. So, I don't think it's on. Yeah, just give me that. Yeah, so I think people don't associate, wireless or phones with Intel. And traditionally, Intel is a compute company, right? So if you know about Intel in PCs and in servers, but not so much in the mobile platforms anymore. However, if you think about it, nothing that computes doesn't connect. So today, everything that computes connects. And going forward, that's the future. Yeah, 10 years from now, you'll have 1 trillion connected devices, and they'll all have compute power in them. So wireless and mobile is extremely strategic to Intel as a company and as a technology. We actually got into it with the acquisition of Infineon a few years ago. You didn't actually ask if anyone had an Intel phone. We're not in too many devices, but we hope this changes fairly soon. There are some Intel phones in the market, though. Anybody here carry a Zenfone 2 and Asus? Okay, so hey, we got one. But in India, you asked about in India, we are mostly focused on R&D and development at a platform level for mobile communications and devices, primarily slim modems and SoC platforms for smartphones and cellular IoT. So we have a very large development focus for global products out of India for that. I would love to partner with my colleagues here to go make something out of India for India. And I think that's also a way how we can get into the manufacturing space. Yeah, if you design from the grounds up with cost or whatever end goal in mind, then you can partner to create something very effective and also enter the manufacturing ecosystem.
Sure. We'll also open it up. Anyone has any questions? People can raise hands. Yeah. Please shout it out. Huh?
My question is to Vikas. I have OnePlus 2 and heard about this invite system. It's a completely new agenda. But I think that it has some disadvantages. I want to know what's the basic of invite system and why OnePlus has accorded it. Because I personally have purchased the invite for 1,000 rupees or something like that. Yeah. So people are actually taking the disadvantage of
Sure.
that invite system.
So the invite system. Yeah.
So one question I can't escape every time. All right, so you have to go back to how OnePlus was started. We started like group of individuals, somebody like sitting in this audience. They were all youngsters, like 20s, 30s. Smartphone is an expensive industry. We didn't really have the resources. We have to play really conservatively. When we started, the target that we had was for some 10,000 units for a year. That's how the company was started. We had like target of 10 units, 20 units in a month. Right? We didn't know. We sold much more. It kept growing. And if you look at supply chain, you have to really plan your supply at least 2-3 months in advance. Right? So we didn't know how much to really produce. And the demands keep increasing. And we also wanted to incentivize our users who are buying our devices because we started on forums. The way OnePlus was started was we opened a OnePlus forum and we asked people's opinion on what device do they want to have, right? Remember, we were using Android phones and we decided to launch a new phone. We didn't know what that phone should look like, right? So we did a survey, we asked people's opinion, we prioritized, and then created a phone that people would hopefully like. Even today, we write on our phones that crafted together with our fans, right? So OnePlus has always been a very community-focused, fan-focused company. And from the very beginning, we decided to incentivize. Let's say if I have just 20 units, I would probably give out to those who are helping me build my company. And we increase it to 100, we increase it to 1,000, 10,000, 50,000. It keeps increasing since then, right? So even today, when we launched the devices, like he said, the site was crashed. But then there are a lot of people who were actually Motorola fans who wanted to buy a Motorola phone and could not buy because there were several others who actually came to that site at that point of time. So here we wanted to reward or gratify our users who have been associated with us and helped us build our brand and giving them first invites to buy the device, right? And once our supply scales to match the demand, we opened the devices, right? So that's how we did with OnePlus 1, OnePlus 2, and now OnePlus X has also been opened, right? So all devices are now open and are available for public purchase.
So you didn't crash any site? Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't want to crash any site.
Any more questions? Yeah. Yeah, please shout.
When will you coming offline?
Yeah. Will you ever?
Ever coming offline or
Yeah.
So,
In
so
fact,
there are
both
cost
of-
of there are
Yeah.
cost of going offline, right? So it's a trade-off, right? We may in the future go offline, but today again we are not at a scale wherein we can actually meet the demand offline. Where right now you're not even able to fulfill the online demand, right? So we are only at one platform, Amazon. We're not even going multi-channels because I'm not sure if I can really meet the demand on all channels, right? So I will go once my supply reaches a scale wherein I'm confident of really meeting demand on all platforms, and then go offline as well, right? So in the future, I'll probably do it. But today, I think most of my core audience is right now online. They're already aware that we are available and know how to really find it. Offline means it's not just about putting your products on the shelf. It's also about investing in the marketing, right? You have to really create that awareness in every locality. There is a huge overhead, like you was talking about. The cost of a device that is available offline is at least minimum 30 to 40% higher. That's something we don't really feel we should pass on to the customers.
At the same specifications, right?
Same specification. Ultimately, what brands does is they kind of normalize the price, right? So some customers will pay a higher price, and some customers will get benefit, right? So what we want to keep is keep the price to the lowest, and then let customers figure out and discover us.
Sure. We had a question there. Please shout. Yeah.
Since the topic is on quick-based innovation, my question was about the battery technology. Do you think, and this question is open to all of you, do you think this is kind of a bottleneck to the current technology that we see in mobile technology? Because CES has seen a lot of
Sure.
advanced stuff, but even battery technology is something that's not picked up pace with that technology.
Yeah. So Anil, we were talking about the chemistry behind it.
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of efforts to improve battery chemistry, right, for many, many years. It hasn't kept up with Moore's law or how compute capable your platform has become, right? It's still maybe on a log scale 10x away, right? But I think this will change. There's enough focus and research going into new battery chemistries and technologies that you'll be able to get something that charges really, really fast and also gives you a long battery life. The other thing about battery life to keep in mind is it's really also about the usage of the platform. There's only so much you can do on the platform itself, right? It can be very self-aware and capable, but it's also how you use it. So if you've got a large social community that keeps sending you videos and photos, it's going to drain your battery, right? So it's also depends on the usage of it. But also, if I look out, say maybe 10 years out, or if I were to crystal ball gaze, I see that there will be energy harvesting technologies that will also come. There'll be a day when you don't actually carry a device, you'll be wearing it. And it will be charging based on, your body chemistry or from your body heat or your, body conduction. There's many other, ideas in the research on this. But I think a day will come when the battery and the power needs of the platform will actually get mitigated. But I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Sure. We had a question here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So did innovation die with Steve Jobs? Some people sometimes say. Yeah. What do you see? Both of you, and 10 years down the line, or is it 20? What kind of innovation will we see in this whole mobile? As you said, wearables is one big area which is coming up.
Well, I may sound slightly divergent here, but I necessarily don't believe that there has not been enough innovation in the smartphone arena. If you see, to Anil's point, over a period of time, your computation power in a smartphone has gone up exponentially. If you look at 2012, 2013, I remember launching a device, and we said that was world's first dual-core device. Before that, you were going at 512, 786 kind of paces. Today, you're talking about like 10 gigs, 12 gigs. You have processing power, speeds, a lot of things that have gone into these devices going up. Also, consider this, and that should partly answer your battery question as well. You are on a 2G network, you're on a 4G network, your consumption rates have gone through the roof. If you do a relative comparison, and if you do all those comparisons and look at relatively where you have gone, I think there has been significant innovation at the levels that have kept pace between, let's say, battery management, performance that you see, what you get in terms of processing power, what you get in terms of usage, and also exceptional use cases. Android ecosystem used to be 100,000 apps. I remember Google printing like every 15 days. Now we are 100. Now we are 110. Now we are 120. Nobody's even asking those questions today. the number of apps, the kind of processing that you're doing at the background, the kind of drain it's putting on the batteries, the kind of drain it's putting on the processing, it's phenomenal. So there has been enough, I'll say enough work that's going behind this, behind the doors that's kind of helping us keep pace. If you see wearables, and I can give you anecdotally, not every innovation that happens comes to a commercial attribute then and there. Motorola was the first company to do a round watch. You'll be surprised, I mean, the ground screen for this and rest of the parts were custom made actually. Now, nobody would essentially imagine that there needs to be specifically custom manufacturing, custom parts creation for a round watch. The round display actually was done in 2007, 2008, when we used to have a phone called Aura, and it was a very expensive phone. It used to be like about 1.5 lakh rupees. It used to compete against the likes of Vertu, and it had a round display. And when we started doing the watch, people said, yeah, we don't need to do a square watch. Because we had developed a round display like 7 years back, we picked it up from there and made a watch out of it. The battery, if you see Motorola devices, and the users here can tell you that, for example, with Motorola devices, if you want to have an interactive session with a Motorola device, you don't need to touch your device, you don't need to kickstart them, right? They are contextually listening to you. So your phone is here in the dead state sitting on your table. You can call it a, okay, Moto X, how far is sun from Earth, right? Now the power solution in that was actually developed retrospectively for actually a smartwatch. See now how innovation at times works. There was something done 7 years back for a phone which became a watch, and there was something done about 4 years back for a watch which went into a phone. So there's a lot of that innovation that's happening behind the doors. Not all of it will come to fruition immediately. Not all of it will come to fruition. You also have to look at how the rest of the ecosystem is kind of progressing.
And you were talking about something, pills, right? You can pop up the pills and
yeah, I mean,
innovation.
We're talking the green room. I mean, one of the things, we had this something called Advanced Technology Labs. They said, on an average, people, unlock their phones about 70 times, 80 times a day. And every time you do that, there's battery consumption. So one of the way of actually reducing the battery drain was, can you contextually do it, right? So we do always on display. You can kind of check what's happening without really checking the phone. One of the other things that our labs did, they said, every time you unlock, you had to go through this whole rigmarole of typing and everything else. So they created a kind of a wearable tattoo, right? We haven't commercialized it. They created a wearable tattoo. You could actually pick up your phone, touch it with a tattoo, and here you are unlocked. Another thing that they did was there was this almost like a pill that you could swallow in the morning, and it created some electromagnetic resonance in your stomach. Pick up your phone, touch it with your belly, and voila, here is unlocked. I wouldn't pop that pill in the morning. That's why probably it's not commercial. But hey, is it an innovative solution? Hell yes. So there is a lot of innovation happening in the background. Will all of that keep pace with commercially viable solutions? Maybe, maybe not. And a lot of that will, and remember this also, considering that there are a lot of budding entrepreneurs here, not everything that is innovative will see light of the day. Because as an end consumer, you may not be even willing to pay for it, right? I mean, if I told you that this pill popping, unlocking the phone is like worth 10,000 rupees a month, it's still as innovative as it is for 1 rupees a day. But you are not going to pay that 10,000 rupees a month to me. So a lot of innovation won't even be commercial.
Yeah, there's a lot of innovation happening on the wireless platform side, yeah, that at the industry level. So for example, LTE and Wi-Fi aggregation, or LTE and Wi-Fi offload, right? So you'll see all of this come in future smartphone platform, and as budding entrepreneurs, you should be aware of that trend, and you should try to anticipate, okay, what are some of the new usages and apps that you can actually envision based on those coming trends. So that's one, but another one, for example, is, think about what positioning has done. Just having positioning data has enabled so many usages, right? What if that positioning data also gave you three-dimensional positioning, so also in the vertical axis, so you know exactly, which floor somebody's on, right? So, so that's another example. Another one I can talk about, and I think you'll see this in the industry fairly soon, is biometric identification, given how much of a concern security is. So just looking at a phone, either iris biometric verification, fingerprints already there. But if you link that, through Aadhaar and other UID mechanisms, you get a lot of powerful usages that you can go exploit.
Yeah, and Intel fellows told me, for example, in 2020, the chip which will be launched in the market is already made right? I mean,
Yes,
so the innovation is already done. I mean,
the thinking of it is,
yeah,
from the process standpoint.
yeah.
It's a long lead cycle for
Yeah,
us.
yeah, I know that. Yeah, please. Okay, sure.
Hello, Mr. Gandhi. I'm IIT Bombay alumnus. So I have a startup called Wealthy. It's a smart personal finance manager application. My question is on the fintech side. So as you are sitting at the top of the industry, so looking at the future. So looking at the future, as he already told, biometrics, right? It will help in the fintech industry for KYC and stuff. So what more can a fintech startup expect from the smartphones? Where the technology is going and how it can help the disruption in the fintech industry? Thank you.
Yeah. Some apps which can be made, especially have you thought about it? Which can change the lives, how we pay for our bills and how we, conduct our daily lives.
Yeah, I
Especially
think
in
one
India.
challenge I see is, peer-to-peer payments, for example, right? Because of security concerns, you haven't been able they haven't really taken off. But that's one area that's ripe for someone to go after. I'm not sure if you and your venture is thinking about it. But with biometric and other identification and security methods, those models become pretty real also. So
Sure.
that's one idea that I could.
Yeah, we had one question. Yeah.
I'm sure word of mouth works very well for WordPress now, but how do you convince your initial set of customers to pay a premium price for the device? Because considering there are a lot of cheaper alternatives for a similar hardware available out there.
Pricing for us was never an issue actually. We were always targeting the uppermost kind of specifications and were offering them at half price, or roughly that was the benchmark, right? And those were the customers who were actually associated or part of our journey from the very beginning. We were actually posting an update on a daily basis. Even today, there is every week an update goes on our blog, both in China or global, as well as in India, right? So we kind of share whatever we are doing, how are we progressing, and that keeps those people glued to our progress. They feel part of our journey. We keep asking their feedback, and they come up with some ideas, they come up with flaws, right? And they share those invites with their friends and families, right? So from the very beginning, scaling up was never a challenge, right? Because we started from zero, right? We were always growing. For the first entire year, we were growing actually. OnePlus One is now almost 22 months old device and still selling, right? It's kind of unheard in the industry wherein you have a smartphone that's selling for more than 20 months. Today, the device life cycle is normally 4 to 6 months. We don't really believe in launching a device every quarter, every 6 months. People, for us, sales is not really a key metric that we really want to chase. It's the user satisfaction, right? And we want to really create a device that people can actually use for more than a year, right?
One question someone had. Yeah, please. At the mic.
Yeah, we have been discussing on the startup on the hardware side, and which you people get there in this business for a long time now. How do you think the Indian manpower is skilled enough to get the hardware startup really done with the vision of the Make in India here?
Yeah, Anil, I think you've been on the design side.
Yeah, I think, I can answer from, silicon and a platform side. Today, if you think about it, coming out of our India global R&D teams, we have products that we launch silicon for servers, for PCs, globally, for global markets. Billions of dollars of business coming out of the products that are designed here. And of course, it's all done by very skilled and smart people from the region, right? But I think the question that you asked was beyond the silicon part. So if you were to go build a system, like a smartphone, for example, and I think maybe we can ask Amit here if he sees a different story, because I know that Motorola has a manufacturing setup. So.
Yeah.
So I need to understand this question better. Is your question, is Make in India going to incentivize local manufacturing beyond silicon?
Today, the available manpower in India.
Are we equipped to actually have rather than import electronics, as we see India's electronic import bill is running high.
Yes. See, everything has a lead time, but if there is one thing that we don't have any dearth of, it's the know-how or the manpower, so to say. The training, the ability to kind of create that is not too difficult. That's my take on it. Is it something? Is it a plug and play right now? No, it's not. It will take some time, and a lot of that has got to do with because we don't have the manufacturing know-how at a broader ecosystem level. So if you have to look at very high throughput manufacturing capacities, then you're looking at developing the overall ecosystem rather than the pieces or parts of the ecosystem. So for example, look at smartphones, right? A lot of brands have started manufacturing locally, including us, and we have had a factory in India for last 10, 15 years as well. But the silicon isn't manufactured in India. The displays aren't, the RFs aren't. We have about 30% probably of our components that we source locally, but about 70% still gets imported. So unless and until there is an ecosystem-led drive which helps everyone to kind of start building up and start gaining scale and gaining throughput, that's when I think Make in India will overall start making sense. That being said, I think some of the recent things that have happened, the incentivization in terms of keeping plants, export incentives, I think there are some of the decisions in the right direction.
Yeah,
So
but
over a period of time, I think that
but
will work.
Intel never. Even though I was covering like Dayanidhin Maran and when he launched, and as well as John Chambers came and everyone he invited. But Intel backed out. They went to Vietnam for the fab, right? So will Intel ever develop a fab? India still lacks a chip fab in the country. I think that's one of the core reasons that we don't have the ecosystem of manufacturing electronic devices here. So.
Yeah, I think the choices of where we make silicon really is a function of incentives and economies in the local region, and that particular decision was really based on that. Right. And there's nothing to say why we wouldn't do it here. Okay, it's possible to do, but I think to answer the larger question of manufacturing, we really ought to start with the design. So if you design in India, and if you partner with the entire end user ecosystem, starting with the phone OEMs and the silicon providers, to design something grounds up for the local needs and the local requirements, that can also be a very powerful way to then go also manufacture it.
Sure. Yeah. We had questions here. Yeah, please shout it out. Yeah. What is the thing that will change the future of the mobile device? Any more questions? Yeah. Yeah. Please shout. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So basically, I had one question. So if not e-commerce in India, was there any other idea in mind to do branding and selling of these phones, and which will have equal sales, which are attracted to Indian customers?
Yeah. Will you ever have, succeeded? So 2 questions. Yeah. So, future of the mobile device and this. Take it up.
Sorry, so to answer your question first, yes, we would have gone through the retail route as most of the other companies are, but for us, even that route was relatively easier because Motorola is a fairly known brand across handset companies. Will we have seen this kind of success? I doubt that. It's 2 things. It's about the consumer value that an e-commerce platform helps you derive. It's the transparency of the transaction. And I think Vikas was also referring to this. When we launch a product, we keep the price the same for about 5-6 months. If you were in a retail environment, your price on day 1 basically varies across the 3 stores that you can go and look at, right? And then you suddenly start doing bargain hunting. So yes, I mean for us it would have been probably okay. Would it have been this okay? I'm not sure.
I think e-commerce is just a channel, right? E-commerce is basically a fulfillment channel for us. Why OnePlus actually became OnePlus was the entire social or the digital ecosystem that we have today. 2-3 years back, the purchase cycle was very different. People used to buy phones based on recommendation of friends, families, right? They don't really go online and read reviews, discover on what all is available, right? Why OnePlus really stood out was people started reading and researching on what phones to really buy because there's so much choice available, and internet really allowed them to compare and figure out what is really good. A lot of reviewers came into the picture. The entire globalization became a prominent phenomena, right? Wherein people are expecting the best product. People used to buy things from US because they were not available locally. So all those things basically converge when brands started supplying those products locally, and people start buying them without really looking for those newspaper ads. Today, some brands are still living in those legacy year, wherein they're spending a lot on all kind of channels, and people are still buying because a large part of the India is still not online, right? So e-commerce is just a facilitator in that sense. The brand success is largely, I would say, it's a function of social commerce. I call it S-commerce, let's say. Without that social element wherein people are researching or online discovering things and deciding what to really buy, and then how you fulfill it, that's a different question. But first the question is, because the brands that are selling online, there are thousands of brands even online, and not all of them are actually selling. So price alone is not really the final deciding factor. It's actually what is really the best product, right? And that's a function of not just the specifications and price, but also on the other things about the brand. Like today, brand has to have some brand connect. People buy Apple without really knowing what Apple specifications are. Apple never really advertise any specification. They actually don't even write the price. They write starting from something, right? So that connect, that brand philosophy, that vision, that's something is what is really driving sales of certain brands and actually hurting other brands, right? If e-commerce was not there, probably brands start those kind of services directly, right? It's a matter of brand philosophy, right? You'll figure out what is the lowest cost model.
Sorry, there was actually one more question before out there, right?
Future of the mobile, anything that you
Mobile devices.
Yeah, I think I touched upon it before. So I think future of the device is really.
No,
Just answering the prior question. Yeah. So I think it's it's wearable.
Just wait a minute.
It's a lot more powerful. It's really an extension of your persona. You can talk to it. It's really like a personal robot or an assistant, right?
Right.
And I think the way the device is today, 10 years from now, you won't really be carrying one.
I think on the future of mobile devices, personally, I would say, by and large, it's getting commoditized. There are internal improvement, enhancement that are happening, but they're right now incremental and not really generational leaps, right? So we talk about the battery innovation. There are a lot of things that are happening on the battery optimization, not just on the software side, but on the hardware side. Like he said, that computing power has increased tremendously, despite so much heavy load from the apps, right? But if you look at in the device form, I think it's largely getting commoditized, and the other things are taking precedent now in terms of the overall service experience, brand experience, right? In the future, I think we have to use whatever we have available today and then create ecosystem around this, right? So in the future, I think the differentiation would largely come from the software side, wherein you have an ecosystem of services around certain brands, certain operating systems, and that would be really the differentiator.
Well, there are two areas that I believe you will see innovation in mobile devices. The first is the devices so far have been smart devices, but they're still dumb, right? They're not contextually aware. And that's an area that at least we at Motorola have focused on in the last couple of years. So whether it's the contextual awareness of our devices, whether it is smart displays, something, and I think over a period of time that has got to strengthen quite a bit. Today, what happens is you are much more worried about your device. You are the one who takes care of the device. We have a philosophy at Motorola where we are coming around to this saying that the device needs to start taking care of you, right? I mean, it needs to know what you want. It needs to contextually help you do different things. So I think, a lot of it will be software driven, but I think a lot of it needs to be hardware driven as well, because not everything can be software led. And hardware innovation in any case has been overdue for quite some time. So I think over next few months time, in next 5-6 months time, you'll actually start seeing some interesting hardware innovation coming in the mobile devices area. But I think contextual awareness and hardware support contextual awareness are going to be two key areas.
Sure.
There's a question. Yeah, please.
We are working on some projects, right? Trying to do that every now and then. Being technocrats, being engineers, we try to do that. And our only rescue devices are Raspberry Pis and those modified devices. Intel is generally perceived as the leader of computing technology and everything. But we don't have, I would like to have a Core i7 modular board for my robot.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Thanks for asking. It's good that you bring it up. Intel has actually recently started what we are calling a maker lab. It's a facility that is run out of our main office in Bangalore. And we actually invite entrepreneurs and people who are interested. We will actually provide you training as well as some hardware to go off and, sign up. Yeah, absolutely.
so
Come
you-
see me afterwards.
So you've got a candidate.
So we are looking
already.
for ideas and it's a good thought. Yeah, so we can really help some budding entrepreneurs with to help get them going.
Sure. Just don't fly the drones over government buildings. You might get arrested.
Okay, well, actually, we are
Yeah.
done.
Okay, last question. Yeah, please. Why did Google sell to remote?
Quite a few reasons, and I'm not sure I can kind of comment on all.
Yeah.
See, there is a significant difference between running a software business and a hardware business, and hardware business is extremely difficult to run. I think one of the things that we really believe that in hardware you need to do is scale and scale optimization, and unless and until you are a major player in this industry, you have a global reach, you sell millions and millions of devices. Everything else, from my perspective, is a flash in the pan. And that's where you need hardware and supply chain prowess. Google is an amazing software company. I mean, we picked up a lot of great stuff from Google, right? We picked up a lot of good philosophies even from a customer centricity from Google. But as a hardware partner, I don't think that was a great marriage. As a successful hardware company globally, you need amazing supply chain, and you need a very focused hardware R&D capabilities that you can do, whether it's in battery, displays, RFs, sensors, so on and so forth. And I think that's something that mattered. Second is, there's a massive, Motorola was, as a inventor of mobile devices, we had this amazing treasure trove of the patents, right? Now with the acquisition, Google has been able to cover overall Android ecosystem in general, which they otherwise, without Motorola patents, that was not happening, right? Now we had about 17,000 standard essential patents, France, and that covers everyone, right? Anyone who does an Android device today is covered by Motorola essential patents, right? And that coverage was important, and that we have given. So I think those are some of the important things.
Great. You can take it offline because we are, I think, out of time.
Yeah,
so
actually,
he's around here. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for being here and listening. And you have a lot of ideas what is coming up in the mobile space. So please go out and innovate. And
Sure,
be
speakers, just
billionaires.
wait.
Thank
We
you
have
so
a
much.
small memento to be given to you by IIT. Har Simran, if you can just do the honors. Thank you. Thank you so much. Indeed, a great session. Thank you.